For the past quarter century, developers have sought the most extraordinary locations on which to build golf courses, knowing that if they create courses that match the cinematic power of these great sites, golfers will eagerly travel the world to play them. Cinematic certainly describes Cabot Saint Lucia, where Ben Cowan-Dewar and his partner Mike Kaiser asked Ben Crenshaw and me to design and help build the Point Hardy Golf Club. With its cliff-hanging seaside holes, cascading elevation changes, and long-range vistas, Point Hardy offers what is likely the most visually dramatic golf course our design team has ever created. The golf course takes golfers on a sometimes wild, but hopefully interesting and unforgettable journey through this most spectacular island landscape. This is every hole at Point Hardy Golf Club at Cabot Saint Lucia. Point Hardy's opening hole is a broad par 5 that climbs through a valley toward the high section of the course. When we first saw the steep incline, Ben and I weren't sure if we could make the hole playable for golf, but our design team, led by Keith Rebb and Trevor Dormer, working with the on-site construction crews, did a remarkable job in molding the land for playability and creating a barranca for drainage and using it as a strategic hazard. A large semi-blind green is benched into the hillside, and a good tactic is to play more right off the tee than more left with the second shot to afford the best angle into the two-tiered green. It's a bit of a hike to the top of the first hole, but the remainder of the front 9, as they say, is all downhill. The par 4 second is probably the most natural hole on the Cabot Saint Lucia property, and one of Ben's and my favorite holes on the course. Most of what golfers see already existed, with the land rolling along an upper plateau, gently tilted right to left, with gorgeous panoramic views across the island and the sea. The bunkers on the left are not nearly as far as they appear, and good tee shots over or just to the right of them will end up with an ideal angle into the opening of the green. The subtle green, appearing to be an extension of the fairway, is set like an amphitheater inside an old stone quarry, with outcroppings of stone framing the putting surface on 3 sides. Ben and I have always believed that nature is the best designer of golf courses, and we try to incorporate the existing landforms into our holes as much as possible. Sometimes, though, what we find has a different origin than nature, like the quarry at the second hole, or the large abandoned ridge of dirt on the right side of the par 5 third hole. Rather than removing the ridge, we converted it into a native grass berm that defines that side of the fairway and gives shape and strategy to the hole. With the options it affords, the third provides room to play and contours that assist the golfers, especially near the wide, accessible green, as long as the golfer avoids the menacing bunker front center of the putting surface. With 4 of the 5 par 3s set directly on the ocean, the one-shot holes at Point Hardy will certainly get their share of the spotlight. The 4th hole is the only one not on the water, but from a golf shot perspective, it is equal to any of its more photogenic siblings. The 4th plays attractively downhill, over a valley, to a long green angle between 2 short bunkers and a larger one directly behind the putting surface. Like a Redan hole, balls that land on the right side of the green will release across the putting surface to access center and back left pin positions. Number 5 begins the descent to the sea with one of the most thrilling tee shots on the course. Tee shots ending near, but not in, the central fairway bunker will provide the best options for approaches to one of the most elusive greens on the course. Seeing the cascading fairway and beauty of the 5th hole today, players are not likely to suspect that in its original state, this par 4 was essentially a deep jungle gorge that became one of the most constructed and altered holes at Point Hardy. Keith Rebb and the construction crews worked on this one hole for weeks to make it acceptable for golf. The sixth hole continues the dramatic downhill march to the sea. A short par 4 playing from an elevated tee toward an infinity green, seemingly about to fall over the cliff. The sixth is a combination of beauty and challenge. Decisions have to be made. Do you attempt to place a tee shot between the bunkers on the left and the creek on the right, or lay back, leaving a longer and less visible approach to the green? Or, if you're capable, do you attempt to carry the left side bunkers with your tee shot, leaving only a tiny pitch, chip, or even a putt for your second? The best short par 3s provoke a sense of danger and anxiety on the tee, something to offset the fact you're standing there with a short iron in hand. That's certainly the feeling at the 7th at Point Hardy, where the green is perched on a narrow strip of land that falls into the sea on both sides. Playing this hole is like walking a tightrope, and it's not inconceivable that the best tactic when the wind is howling is to use a more straight-faced club to bump a shot along the ground and let the ball roll onto the putting surface. If standing on the 8th tee at Point Hardy doesn't make your heart race, there's not much in golf that will. This go for glory, potentially drivable par 4, allows the golfers to pick their favored lines across a cove of the Atlantic Ocean. An aggressive line can give longer players an opportunity to drive close to, or perhaps even onto, the elevated green by playing off the left side contours. One of the 8's best defenses is not the ocean or the 2 deep bunkers fronting the green, but the bold contouring of the putting surface, separating the upper and lower levels of this tiny green. The 9th hole plays from a hillside tee down to a large green that seems to hover above the ocean, next to an old forest of organ pipe cacti. The putting surface, big enough to catch most decently struck shots, even in high winds, appeared to be waiting there in the meadow grasses when we first saw it. When a writer visiting the course made a similar observation, Ben Crenshaw responded humorously, "Well, if you can't recognize this green site, perhaps you should consider another line of work." We knew it wasn't going to be easy building a course on extreme island topography, but Point Hardy and Mother Nature provided challenges we could not have foreseen. The pandemic ground progress on the course to a halt just weeks into construction, and later, supply issues, final permission to build golf along the coast, and access to irrigation caused further delays. On top of those, torrential rains kept washing away our attempts to grass the course, requiring more and more creative erosion control solutions and extreme patience. Yet through all these challenges came a benefit. The delays gave us the advantage of time, the time to continue to refine the design features and details of the course. I truly believe Point Hardy is better today because of the challenges faced through its lengthy construction process and the attention to detail that those delays provided. Beginning the back 9, the 10th hole is a beautiful and distinctive short par 4 that plays far longer than its listed yardage. Rising dramatically from the cacti near the sea, the ample but canted fairway encourages tee shots played center to right center, bringing the fairway bunkers and island vegetation into play. The 2-tiered green, with its surface unseen from the fairway, rewards distance control and conviction with approach shots. Possibly the most controversial hole at Point Hardy due to its upward elevation, the 10th from a golf architecture perspective is one of my personal favorites, given the artistic and playable manner in which it connects the lower and upper portions of the course. The 11th is the first of 3 lengthy par 4 holes that play through the farthest inland section of Cabot Saint Lucia. The landing area tilts sharply left, so tee shots should favor the right side, although long players are enticed to get drives onto the upper left portion of the fairway, beyond the fairway bunkers. From there, the green with its thumbprint depression that Ben suggested is readily apparent and approachable. Shorter players, who are not able to reach the upper level of the fairway, are faced with a blind second shot. But the contours short and right of the green aid in rolling shots onto the putting surface. But beware, shots played left or over this hillside green can lead to severe distress. The 12th hole at Point Hardy rolls gently over a slightly descending landscape, and like number 11, tee shots should favor the right side to avoid danger on the left. Approach shots are played to a slightly elevated green that features beautiful internal contours inspired by classic Perry Maxwell design courses that Ben and I have admired through the years. While some golfers may find this stretch of inland par 4 somewhat anticlimactic, and certainly they lack the visual drama of the seaside holes, we think they have their own kind of beauty, strategy, and serve as an opportunity to build quiet tension as you head into the home stretch. The only water hazards on the course that aren't an ocean were already here at what became the 13th hole. The first of these man-made water hazards lies to the right of the fairway, but a decent tee shot should get past it. The preferred tee shot line is left over the shoulder of a hillside to set up an open approach around the front right greenside bunker. The approach is played downhill to a large but artistically molded green, set beside the second of the previously existing water features, and framed by the backdrop of island and sea beyond. A towering ridgeline of earth had to be lowered to create the saddle-like fairway at the long par 5 14th, but once over the hill there's an almost indescribable feeling as the fairway, tumbling, turning, descending, and then rising toward the skyline green far in the distance, comes into view. 2 quality shots are required to reach the approach area just short of the green, from where the putting surface and pin placements are readily discernible. Bunkers flanking the right side of the approach in the green are deep, but more to assist play than to penalize it. Rounding the corner to the 15th tee will never get old, as you're suddenly confronted with the sound of waves crashing and the appearance of the tee itself, nearly an island in the sea. Standing on the tee, the view is majestic, and the challenge ahead is unmistakable. Tee shots are played over the ocean to a fairway carved into a rocky hillside. Shorter players can play farther left than it appears. There is fairway over the small left cliffside bunker. From the fairway, approach shots, generally with a very short iron, are played to an elevated green nestled hard by the Atlantic cliffs. The 16th hole at Point Hardy, with its spectacular green site, is the first of back-to-back par 3s over inlets of ocean, not unlike the famed 15th and 16th holes at Cypress Point. Mike Kaiser, whom we've worked closely with at Bandon Dunes, Cabot Cape Breton, and Sand Valley, likes to rate holes on his courses from 1 to 10. During his initial visit to Point Hardy, he gave both 16 and 17 perfect 10s. If it's possible for a golf hole to be more visually dramatic than 16, the 17th is in contention. The 17th is what I've referred to as fantasy golf, with a lengthy tee shot over a sheer rock cliff to a green sitting far above the crashing surf. The putting surface mimics the waves on the horizon, but is accessible by playing directly onto the green or by using the slopes of the ground short and left to roll balls onto it. A daunting challenge to construct and make playable, The 17th hole at Point Hardy is more than anything a product of Ben Cowandour's imagination and encouragement for us to build. Concluding this stretch of beyond spectacular holes, the 18th at Point Hardy is a downhill par 5 that often will play as a par 4.5, if the golfer has enough skill and courage to attempt a second shot over the sea and the beach to the beckoning green beyond. For shorter players, it would be prudent, perhaps even necessary, to play to the end of the fairway, then approach with a much shorter but still daunting third shot to a welcoming green. It's every designer's dream to build golf by the sea, and Ben and I have been blessed in that regard. But to have the opportunity to work on a property as dramatic as Point Hardy goes beyond dreams and has become reality.